Hello, this is Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and today I'm watching another Pauline Hanson video, and this one's called Fed Up with Feminists, Pauline Hanson wants the Family Court Act replaced. I've got tears coming to my eyes. I just feel so happy when titles like this appear on the screen. Feminists are terrible people, and the family court, the family law and the family court are just child abusers. It's so anybody standing up against this criminality that's covered up in its own little private court has my backing. Like, good luck on her. Let's have a look, see what she's got to say.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Joint Select Committee on Australia's Family Law System, I present the committee's second interim report and move that the Senate take note of the report. Okay. When Labor leader Gough Whitlam introduced the Family Law Bill in 1974, its purpose was to eliminate, as best possible, the high costs, delays and indignities experienced by so many divorced couples under the existing Matrimonial Causes Act. The bill was passed by Parliament and became known as the Family Law Act 1975. For anyone who has been through the divorce court since, the Family Law Act is regarded as a failed piece of legislation that has destroyed too many lives, separated children from their parents, and allowed lawyers to feed off the bones of families like vultures.
Yes, that's
inquiries that have...
Yes, that's absolutely true. And solicitors also don't, and lawyers and whatnot, don't have an obligation to protect children.
The countless inquiries that have previously been conducted all agree the system does not meet the needs and expectations of many of those who go through it. Over a period of 46 years, the Family Law Act has been amended more than 110 times, yet rather than make it better each time, the changes have only made it more complicated. The current family...
Yeah, because if it's like this easy and boom, 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 because I mean, it is simple, isn't it? Because a child needs both parents. Unless there's an immediate danger or something's like really a problem, then there shouldn't be. And if there's an immediate danger or something like that, then that's a criminal issue. So it should be dealt with by the police. It's so simple to just get on well with somebody, to be reasonable, to be civil. That's why there's a civil court, to promote civility. But the family court is against civility because it profits out of conflict.
Then make it better each time. The changes have only made it more complicated.
So it's very simple, but they make it more and more and more complicated and put more and more bureaucracy and legislation in there so that you then need a solicitor or a lawyer to be able to understand it all. They're creating a problem in order to sell a solution.
The current family law system has created a lottery of winners and losers. When someone loses their family, their children, and everything they have worked so hard for, it brings about enormous suffering and an increase in suicide numbers by those people who are victims of the family law gamble. For the past 25 years...
That is a point as well. It is a gamble. Because the other thing as well, if it gets really bad or if it gets put over into public law, then the children will just be taken off both the parents. But usually the one that's the perpetrator in the relationship doesn't care because they don't think they're going to get caught. That's why, because they're seen as the victims, so they can get away with their crimes.
I have advocated for change to this unjust system. The Joint Select Committee on Australia's Family Law System received over 1,450 confidential submissions. The evidence received was nothing short of heartbreaking. Many participants knew there was nothing the committee could do to help their past cases, but I want to thank those people because their focus was to ensure no other family or child would feel their same pain. There was also a wealth of evidence given regarding domestic violence. Let me make it very clear. Domestic violence is unacceptable and won't ever be tolerated.
But the trouble is, you've got a family court set up that promotes it and hands out orders to enforce it. So while you've got the family court in place, keeping it private and enforcing orders of domestic abuse and child torture, you're never going to resolve the issue.
This inquiry has convinced me domestic violence must be broken down into 3 categories. I've suggested those categories include domestic harassment, domestic threat, and domestic violence. As the definition of domestic violence stands, it carries unintended consequences for separated parents blue card holders, police, military, and the livelihoods of anyone requiring a gun licence. The current definition differs between states and territories, and simply stating that you are in fear can constitute domestic or family violence.
Yeah, this is the thing. Nothing needs to happen. Over here we have concerns. I'm concerned something may happen. Over there, they've probably got, I'm afraid something may happen.
Such allegations are increasing adversarial hostilities in our courtrooms and fueling greater divide between non-custodial parents and their children. The committee is of the view the Council of Attorneys General should review the definitions of domestic violence at Commonwealth, state and territory level to bring about a uniform definition. It brings me to another point made evident by inquiry participants. Domestic violence allegations are increasingly used as a means to avoid the legal requirement for mediation.
Yes, that's what the non-molestation orders over here do. So molestation means to inconvenience. So what they say is, oh, it's inconvenient for me to mediate with somebody, therefore I can't be reasonable, therefore I can use undue force.
I'm very strong in my belief children have a right to see both parents unless a parent has demonstrated violent or abusive behaviour towards the child. Children must not be the collateral damage of marriage breakdowns. Parents must look past self-interest, pain and vindictiveness.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And although I come across as passionate in this video, like, I've been through all this and I don't blame my ex-partner. And this is bizarre because what's the best way of wording this? If you've gone through the resentment I have and the anger and the frustration is at the system itself. So if you're with somebody who's an abusive party, they should be prevented from abusing you and your children. But what's happening is the system is set up to help the perpetrator. And so my anger and resentment and frustration is not at the perpetrator themselves, you know, an ex-partner or something like that. It's at the system that rewards criminal behaviour. That's what I'm pissed off about. That's what I'm angry about. That's why this is called behind closed doors, because everybody pretends that nothing's going on when something really is going on.
I am fed up with feminists and organisations pushing their agenda that paints men as the only ones capable of domestic violence.
Yes, good and evil exists in the heart of everybody.
I accept that men account for 75% of this behaviour, but we cannot ignore...
Again, when it comes to those kind of stats and stuff, I don't think it's true, because on paper, it's still, oh, she was a victim. But it's a fake victim. It's a fake count. So when it comes to these stats, oh, men have done this. Not necessarily.
Or the 25% of domestic violence committed by women.
Yeah, I think it's higher. And if you look at other stats, it's about 50-50. So although we're going to, I disagree with the stats there. But again, the reason why I'm disagreeing with the stats is because it's a miscount. Because the perpetrator is pretending to be a victim. So therefore, the real victim is seen as the perpetrator. And that's why it looks like it's more men when it's not. Women are capable of doing a great deal of harm.
The truth is domestic violence should not be tolerated by either sex.
I agree, and it should come away from the issue of sex altogether, and it should be based on behaviour.
And the same applies to filicide. For those unaware of the term, it's a name given to the killing of a child by their parents. Again, there can be no excuse for heartless action taken by parents who murder their own innocent kids.
Yep, I agree with that as well. And again, you see both sexes doing that because both sexes are capable of that, because it's not about sex, it's about the individual human being. And this is how dangerous people can get. So say, for example, if somebody's going to family court, there's been times whereby a father will then kill the children and himself because the wife has threatened to take him to family court. So, all right, fine, I'll kill myself and the children. And there's been other times where a mother has done the same thing, where she's gone to family court. Oh, the father got sole custody. Okay, right, I'll kill myself and I'll kill the kid as well. and it's so evil, and that's where it goes. This is where this is what the family court drive parents to, and that's wrong. And so you've got to be very careful when you're dealing with an aggressive perpetrator of domestic violence who's using the family court to pretend to be a victim, because they're very dangerous people and the system is set up to reward their criminal, evil behaviour. So if you have been in a family court and you've been separated from your children, I'm so sorry about that. And I hope that your children are well. But it could be a lot worse. They could be going into care, the parent could kill them, and there's nobody there to stop them.
On the government's website relating to filicide statistics.
So if you're going through the family court, no matter how bad things get, it's probably best not to try and make things worse than they are and to create unnecessary problems or try and fight over the child too much, because one parent could just go and kill their kid, because that's the mentality that they're in, because they don't care, they've got no empathy. So I understand how bad things get in the family court. If your children are still alive, you've done well.
Relating to filicide statistics, between 2001 and 2012, 76% of the 284 children killed by a parent, 46% were by the custodial mother, 29% by the custodial father, 14% by a step-parent, and 10% by a non-custodian. We need to stop demonising men because perpetrators come in the form of women and men. The plight of grandparents mustn't be overlooked. The rights of the child must also be considered when addressing regular contact with extended families. I've recommended grandparents be granted a mandatory 5 hours a month in-person contact, or at least contact via Skype or phone with their grandchildren. On the subject of legal costs, submissions throughout the whole inquiry were scathing of lawyers' fees. One case reported 5.5 years in the courts and a legal bill above $700,000. Another $635,000. Another $950,000. This is ridiculous. Many legal costs were around $50,000 to $100,000.
It's so difficult listening to this and not get emotional about it. It's such... I'm getting so, you get so hurt, angry, upset, depressed, sad, pissed off. There's so much... everything that's wrong, that you can imagine is wrong in the family court.
The evidence stated a belief that lawyers are dragging cases out and stinging clients with exorbitant fees. When the New South Wales Bar Association was questioned, they stated legal costs vary between $8,000 and $20,000 a day. My reply to them was, I'm on pretty good money, but I couldn't afford you. Disappointment fees are another contentious issue raised many times throughout the inquiry. This is the feature.
Yeah, because the other thing as well, like I say, the UK is different to Australia in every way is different, but in the UK, if you pretend to be a victim, then you'll get given legal aid and stuff like that. So the family court expenses are paid for, which is another reason why the criminal parents do it, is because they're going to profit.
This is the fee charged by some lawyers if they put the day or time aside for the client and the case doesn't proceed. The committee recommends the prohibition of the use of disappointment fees in all family law matters. Also, the committee believes the court should better case manage and encourage the resolution of matters to avoid excessive legal costs. This includes a provision setting the maximum costs and disbursements at $50,000 or 10% of the combined value of the parties' property and superannuation, whichever is the higher. We also heard evidence...
All this because one person doesn't want to mediate and they want to control the other person.
...of perjury, false allegations and a lack of avenues to fight it. The law states perjury is an offence, but only one case has been brought against the person who perjured themselves in family law.
Yeah, I was going to say, perjury is commonplace in the family law.
Former Chief Justice Diana Bryant believes people don't commit perjury. Instead, she is convinced witnesses believe what they are saying.
Yeah, so again, this is where the feminists push forward my truth and all women should be believed. So even if it can be proven objectively wrong, that doesn't matter, because the family court is all based on subjective evidence, because one's balance of probability and the other's beyond reasonable doubt. That's why the police keep it in the family court, so that the perpetrators can get away with their crimes.
On the other hand, retired judge of 14 years in the Parramatta Family Court, David Collier, said, quote, "Allegations of child sexual abuse are becoming increasingly invented by mothers to stop fathers from seeing their children."
Yeah, that's called the silver bullet. So it doesn't matter what happens. Reality doesn't matter. All that matters is what the woman believes to be true. And so she believes something to be true. She writes it down. Oh, this may happen. This could happen. I'm worried. I'm afraid that this might happen. Sign and date it, and that's evidence now. It doesn't have to. It's based on fiction. It's based on fairy tales. It's based on La La Land. It's based on imagination. It's ethereal. It doesn't mean anything. She's just making it up. But that now is evidence. So say, for example, if a mother comes in and she says, oh, I'm afraid he might hit me, and it turns out later on that that's the subjective evidence that she's signed and dated, and the objective evidence comes up that the opposite is true, that the woman was actually hitting the man, and that the man never hit the woman, the objective evidence does not matter, only the subjective evidence, because the orders are made based on the feelings of the perpetrator at the time that they made the application to the court. It doesn't matter about objective evidence. Reality doesn't matter in a family court. We're not here today to talk about reality. We're here today to talk about the applicant's feelings. And the applicant can be a man or it can be a woman, but it's designed to be a woman.
The worst are those mothers who direct false allegations of abuse against former partners. End of quote. Proven false allegations and statements must be dealt with. Allowing false allegations to go unchecked destroys our justice system.
Yeah, because you've got a dual justice system. You've got a two-part justice system. You've got one that's a balance of probability and the other one that's beyond reasonable doubt. So which one is it? I mean, you've either got a law or you haven't.
People must have faith in the courts. Hence my recommendation and belief that the government should set up an independent judicial tribunal where people can take complaints of perjury and not...
Yeah, justice should be done and should be seen to be done, but that doesn't happen in a family court because you're not allowed to talk about it. So it's not done, and then it's not seen to be done.
Wait in the hope that the courts will report it to police. The panel could also take complaints about judges. In my office, I have had 8 individual complaints and allegations about one judge. They have fallen on deaf ears from the Chief Justice and the Attorney General. Under the Australian Constitution, judges in the Federal Court are appointed till 70 years of age. No other profession is guaranteed a job for life. A judge can only be sacked by both houses of Parliament. If the authorities won't deal with rogue judges, then let the people have their say through the review tribunal. Due to COVID-19, the committee was set back in its efforts to bring down recommendations.
The whole thing is designed that way. One is based on, oh, I'm worried the virus might kill everyone. And the other is based on, oh, I'm worried the parent might kill everyone. But it's coming from the same place. It's a third person coming in and telling you who you can and can't see, who you can and can't hug, who you can't be in a relationship with. It's all a scam.
The child support system. We are hopeful to address this by June 30. It is my opinion that this system is failing many parents. We must develop a fairer system. I believe it should be based on a standard of 38-hour working week, not including overtime or a second job, and based on a person's net wage. People should have incentives to move forward in life and in some cases building new lives for themselves and their families. If the cost of raising children was better shared, we would see fewer people withholding children from the other part for financial gain through child support. I also believe more parents will work instead of opting for the dole to avoid paying child support. I encourage all Australians to work out their differences.
Yeah, because it's a parent tax. So you pay, again, it's different for different countries, but over here you pay 19% plus the percentage of the fees that you got to pay for them taking out your account. So basically, if you don't see your children, then you're given a parent tax. So you have to pay 20% of your gross income. So again, there's no incentive because there's no point in working.
Without the heartache of family law proceedings, no one wins, especially the children.
Yeah, that's right. I think even Brad Pitt in America said it, nobody wins. And it's everybody loses, and it's just about who loses the most.
Many have said they would not wish their experience on their worst enemy. Others have lost their lives by way of murder or by their own hand, only to leave confused and grieving families and children behind. I am grateful for the opportunity to spearhead this inquiry. The committee's recommendations are far more than what I have mentioned here today, but in truth, the Family Law Act has been band-aided too much and, in my opinion, needs to be thrown out and replaced by a simpler act.
Yes, I agree. Good video. Well done, girl. Perfect. You tell them. But I don't believe anything is going to change because the system is set up to ensure that families are destroyed. Feminism is the planned destruction of the family home.